I'm Natalie Rodriguez. I'm going to be interning with the Daily Planet.
Welcome to the newsroom. Let me introduce you to one of our reporters, Clark Kent. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Clark. Nice to meet you. Are you wearing a shirt under your shirt?
I didn't realize this shirt was see-through to everyone.
Oh no!
An emergency! We need one of our reporters downtown immediately. I've gotta go.
Did anyone else think that was weird? Hi, people of the world! Welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie, and I'm very excited to have you all here today. And I'm very, very excited because today I'm going to talk about the new Superman movie. But disclaimer, I actually haven't seen the new Superman movie, so there will be no spoilers, and I ask that you also don't spoil it in the comments below. I just have been wanting to talk about this movie ever since the first trailer came out, and this is my perfect opportunity to do so. I have my Superman Ready Fit. This is just an index card, so it's probably going to fall out, so Superman logo. But the reason why I'm very excited to talk about Superman is actually because I think a lot of times people forget that Clark and Lois are journalists, and I'm a journalism student, so today we're actually going to focus specifically on Clark Kent and his journalistic practices because some things are kind of questionable. While in real life we might not have a lot of people leading double lives that we know of, it can get kind of shady, especially when we're looking at the realm of journalistic ethics, and especially now when there is so much skepticism surrounding the media, journalism, and news outlets in general. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it today. Before I get started, I just wanted to say that I am in no way a comic book expert. I wanted to specifically look at this character through films and his first appearance in the comics, but I just didn't have the time, money, or resources to read hundreds of comics. But if I miss out on your favorite, please let me know in the comments below, but that comes with a big asterisk because you need to be respectful, and I'm talking about all of you. I didn't mean to point, that was rude. But whenever we're looking at spaces specifically surrounding comics and superheroes and things that have, quote, been for boys in the past, a lot of these spaces can feel really, really toxic. So I want my comment section and this community to be welcoming to everyone. So if I might have missed something or some in the comments might have missed something, please be respectful. That's all I've asked. Freshman year in one of my first journalism classes, in big bold letters were the words, "Do not make up quotes." But there's a lot of gray area, especially when Clark Kent interviews Superman because he's making up his own quotes. That's what he does. So if we're going by the rules of my very first ever journalism class, then Clark Kent, Superman, you can't make up your own quotes or quotes for other people that are also you. Different news outlets have different rules, practices, and standards. One thing that is pretty universal amongst the community is the Society of Professional Journalists Code of Ethics. The SPJ Code of Ethics is kind of like a standard where if you're ever questioning if something is right, ethical, or wrong, usually if you look back and consult the guide, it'll be a lot more helpful for you to come back and make that final decision. While it's not the end-all be-all of journalism, it is important to have some kind of guidelines here. Now, we also have to say that Superman's and Clark Kent's first appearance is in 1938. And the journalistic standards from the 1930s to now have changed a lot. But for the sake of convenience, we're simply going to look at this modern code of ethics versus Clark Kent's practices across his representations. The SPJ Code of Ethics has 4 main areas. First is seek truth and report it.
Ethical journalists should be accurate and fair. Journalists should be honest and courageous in gathering, reporting, and interpreting information.
And then it goes on to more specifically give cases about being truthful, which is kind of really important. Section talks about minimizing harm.
Ethical journalism treats sources, subjects, colleagues, and members of the public as human beings deserving of respect.
While Superman is really good at that, that's kind of his whole thing, it's important to keep these rules in mind. A journalist must act independently.
The highest and primary obligation of ethical journalism is to serve the public.
Accountable and transparent.
Ethical journalism means taking responsibility for one's work and explaining one's decisions to the public.
First red flag, or red cape, because it's Superman, that comes to mind for me is under the Act Independently section. The first bullet point states, avoid conflicts of interest, real or perceived. Disclose unavoidable conflicts. For me, I think an unavoidable conflict is the fact that you're writing about Superman as Superman, but here's an example we learn about a lot in school. I'm involved in the speech and debate team. If my student newspaper was writing an article in the speech and debate team, I should not be the one writing an article. I have a direct stake in whether the team does well or not. Especially as president, even if I'm not trying to be biased, I'm inherently going to write positive things. If, let's say, I was the only reporter in all of the university for some reason, and I could only write about the speech and debate team, as long as I were to remain unbiased, that could possibly be a workaround, but the moral of the story is you always want to be unbiased and not have those connections, especially because those conflicts of interest can get really, really shady. The bullet that I find kind of interesting is under the Seek Truth and Report It section. A few bullet points down, there's something that says, diligently seek subjects of news coverage to allow them to respond to criticism or allegations of wrongdoing. I might think, hey, this is a given for Clark. A lot of Superman's actions have come under criticism, and while I say yes, but there's always two sides to every story. Let's say Lex Luthor's company, Lex Luthor's company is under a lot of criticism in the media. Valid, he's a billionaire. Always shady things going on, but you have to represent both sides. Let's say there's a fight and then something happens and you got Superman's perspective, but you never got Lex Luthor's perspective. Do you think Superman is going to stop the fight and say, hey, Lex, can I just interview really quickly? I want to get your word in for the paper. No, he has clear responsibilities as Superman to, super fight, and responsibilities as Clark Kent to report on the story, but oftentimes those two can't live together. If he's supposed to interview maybe the quote bad guy because he's the good guy, he still has to at least try and reach out to get both perspectives. Again, I don't really know if this has ever specifically come up in a comic, but I think it's funny because yes, he's giving a voice to the voiceless. He's giving a voice to Superman, but as shady as these big companies are, you still need to reach out and give them an opportunity to share their side. I honestly go line by line and talk about if this is ethical or not, but I feel like that would be really boring. You guys are all here to talk about Superman. So now let's talk about Superman. We're going to specifically look at his first ever appearance in Action Comics 1 and then go square by square and see if this guy is being ethical, because reading the rules are one thing, seeing how they play out in real life, or fake life, pretend life, are another. Today, we're reading from Action Comics 1, specifically the segments where we see Clark Kent, Superman, as a journalist. Let's begin. This morning, as Clark leaves for the newspaper upon which he works, as a reporter, ... All the men that aren't Clark/Superman are going to have like what I imagine 1930s voices. Clark's going to have a nerdy voice and Superman's going to have like a man voice. Have you heard? The Curry girl is innocent. Let's see the paper. Good. I'm not mentioned. The Daily Star office is reached. You wanted to see me? Yes, be seated. Did you ever hear of Superman? What? I really need to get a better voice. Reports have been streaming in that a fellow with a gigantic strength named Superman actually exists. I'm making it your steady assignment to cover these reports. Think you can handle it, Kent?
Listen, Chief, if I can't find anything out about this Superman, no one can!
Ethically, that's not good. He's not allowing anyone else to report about Superman except for himself, and he knows it. Later...
What do you say to, date tonight, Lois?
I suppose I'll give you a break for a change. I don't know why I made Lois Lane kind of British. It was a character choice. That night...
Why is it you always avoid me at the office?
Please, Clark, I've been scribbling sob stories all day long. Don't ask me to dish out another. And Clark and Lois go on a date, but some guy tries to kidnap Lois, and she's like, "Oh my God, Clark, save me!" And he's like, I can't do it, because he knows he'll blow his cover if not. So then they take her away, and then Superman comes. I would have read, but that would have just been a lot of reading. This next part just makes me laugh because I feel like I need to read comic books more, because this is my favorite image. It's just Superman lifting up a car, and then in the car it's like, ee, and then in orange font it says, yee-ow! Day is back when we see Clark as a journalist. Next morning, but I tell you, I saw Superman last night.
Are you sure it wasn't pink elephants you saw?
Okay, yeah, it's the 1930s and misogyny, but that's crazy.
Lois treats Clark colder than ever.
I'm sorry about last night. Please don't be angry with me.
Clark receives an assignment. Kent, the front page is getting so dull I've got to headline card games. There's a war going on in a small South American republic, San Monte. And to stir up news, I'm sending you down there as a correspondent to take along a camera and try to send back some good shots with your articles.
Okay, he's got an assignment from the editor. I don't know if I like the language stir up news. Again, the 30s, things might have slightly been different. Maybe it's just a language kind of fancy comic book thing, but that is kind of interesting ethically. Also, I noticed that it wasn't the Daily Planet, it was the Daily Star, so maybe Clark Kent switched firms. Saves people, yada yada yada. It is interesting because Clark was there on assignment and then Superman saved people, so that's pretty cool. But then at the very end,
and so begins the startling adventures of the most sensational strip character of all time, Superman. A physical marvel, a mental wonder, Superman is destined to reshape the destiny of a world.
Not our world, a world. And so ends Superman the comic strip. Sorry if you couldn't follow along with the voices, but that's okay. All in all, I'm going to transition back to myself because I have kind of a final quote that's kind of a definite on if Clark Kent is ethical or not, but you're just going to have to keep watching to find out. M. Beadle, who is an editor for content online for DC, posted a blog editorial called "The Daily Planet Has a Superman Problem," in which he debates if it's ethical for Clark Kent to have this position as a reporter for the Daily Planet. While later he does get onto some of the specifics, specifically about his relationship with Lois as Lois becomes editor-in-chief in later of the comic series, but pretty early on in the article he talks about how it's simply just a conflict of interest. He writes, quote,
"But Superman working as an investigative reporter, that opens the door to some real issues when it comes to ethics. Journalists are supposed to be objective. They observe and report the story as free of bias as they can, and it's up to the reader to decide how they feel about it. But in Metropolis, Superman is often the story. Superman doesn't have to display bias or possible hidden agenda in his writing, just the perception of potentially having one is enough, especially today when trust in traditional media and journalism is at an all-time low."
End quote. And there you have it. Actual employees of DC and big-time Superman fans are saying maybe his profession isn't the best. It's really easy to criticize the choice of Superman being a reporter now. It's important to think about the context in which he was written as such. In the 1930s, journalists and reporters were the first people to know about information. As the Superman, you would want to put yourself in a position to know the most about any situation. If Superman was created now, though, there's a really good chance he wouldn't be a journalist. While journalists do find out and they break a lot of stories that are happening now and give the most accurate and transparent information that they can, a lot of things break online. Superman could just be some dude who has a TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram account and be able to find out information at almost the exact same pace that some news studios do. It's now time for the question of the day. Today's question of the day is brought to you by the Duquesne debate team. I cannot take credit for writing this. This is my favorite debate that I've never gotten to do. So let's get into it. In this universe, Superman exists. Superman fights for truth, justice, and the American way. Superman has the power to stop all war, crime, famine, and terrible things that happen in humanity. He can make the world a beautiful and peaceful place. The only condition is he has to eat a human baby every 11 years. Superman has to take a human baby every 11 years. If you were part of the committee for choosing the human if you were part of the committee to save the world, would you allow Superman to take this baby every 11 years? Some stipulations. The baby must come from a loving home. Taking the baby must not be a public good or taking it out of a terrible condition. It has to be from a loving home. And Superman has to take the baby and either eat it or fly it into space. Would you let Superman take the baby? You have the power to stop all terrible things, but you are also ripping apart a family and doing something really ethically horrible. Would you argue the utilitarian perspective or the moral perspective? Comment down below. I forgot to mention that if you don't give Superman the baby, then nothing changes. It's the status quo. Let's say you don't give Superman the baby, the world just continues as it is. Nothing bad happens if you don't give the baby. Superman just flies away and doesn't come back. He doesn't save the world, but he also doesn't make it any worse. That was important. I had to clarify that. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. This has been, I think, my favorite video I've ever made. Granted, I haven't really made that many videos, but this one I just got to do everything that I really enjoy. I also got this new light from Amazon Prime Day, so I have really fancy equipment now and I feel like I'm very illuminated. But let me know your thoughts down below. If you like this video, if you want to see things similar to this, I don't know, other superheroes. I know Spider-Man could also be up for debate because he takes pictures for the Daily Bugle, I think. He takes pictures and is like the Spider-Man photographer, but he's also Spider-Man, so there is kind of a conflict of interest thing going on there. So if you want an analysis, feel free to let me know. Here is my opportunity to tell you to do all of the generic YouTube things. Please hit the subscribe button. I have over 2,000 subscribers, and that is so amazing, and thank you all so much. I am so grateful to each and every one of you. Give this video a like. I know that the Superman movie is currently coming out, so maybe if I can get some likes and some traction, I can go super duper viral, and then I can make so much YouTube ad money so I can go and see it in theaters multiple times like I did with the Barbie movie. But also just leave a comment. Let me know how you're doing. Again, I just had so much fun, and I will make another new and awesome video next week, and I will see you all later, and have the best day ever. Okay, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Bye, everyone.